Several reports have attributed the latest shakeups to senior White House Stephen Miller, an immigration hardliner who has reportedly been given more authority over border and immigration policy in recent weeks. Nielsen's resignation came just days after Trump unexpectedly withdrew his nomination of Ronald Vitiello, the acting director of U.S. Customs Enforcement, to become the agency's permanent head, expressing his desire to go in a tougher direction. If tough means cruel and illegal, then the departure of top officials is to be expected, said Alan Bersin, who was Commissioner of U.S. Customs and Border Protection and an Assistant Secretary of DHS during the Obama administration. You cannot expect for significant leaders to do things that are needlessly cruel or completely illegal. To the extent that's what Trump means by toughness, Bersin continued, he's obviously completely off base along with Stephen Miller, his principal advisor, who wouldn't know a border operational reality if it hit him in the head. Beginning with Trump's executive order on January 27, 2017 banning residents of 7 majority Muslim countries from entering the U.S., much of his immigration agenda, a cornerstone of his presidential campaign, has been blocked in the courts. Miller was the architect of many of these policies. For the past several months at least, White House and DHS officials have repeatedly called for Congress to change existing federal laws and seek to reverse court rulings that prohibit actions such as turning away asylum seekers at the border, forcibly separating young children from their parents, or detaining immigrant children for more than 20 days in an unlicensed child care facility. But reports of the disagreements that drove Nielsen to submit her letter of resignation Sunday suggest that Trump and Miller may be looking for officials who are more willing to work around or even ignore the law. NBC News first reported Tuesday that Trump has been pushing for months to resume conducting mass separations of migrant families along the southwest border. A deliberate outcome of former Attorney General Jeff Sessions' zero-tolerance policy of prosecuting all adults caught crossing the border illegally, the administration's prior use of family separation has resulted in public outrage, multiple federal court orders against the administration, and unknown numbers of families where children and parents have been indefinitely separated. Nielsen denied that a family separation policy was in effect, even while overseeing its implementation as a direct and deliberate outcome of zero tolerance, and as a result has been portrayed by immigration advocates as the face of the administration's inhumane policies. Yet Nielsen reportedly pushed back against the president's latest efforts to revive and, according to CNN, even expand family separation to deter the flow of migrants to the border. Doing so, she reportedly explained Trump would both violate federal court orders and contradict his own executive order from last June which ended family separations. Bersin sees reports of Nielsen's behind-the-scenes resistance, even if accurate, as too little, too late. Trump broke the news of Nielsen's departure via Twitter Sunday night, announcing in a subsequent tweet that Kevin McAleenan, the current head of U.S. Customs and Border Protection, will take over as acting DHS Secretary in Nielsen's stead. The more interesting question in mind, Bersin said, is to see how far acting Secretary McAleenan is willing to go to implement a policy that's based on a political slogan rather than an operational reality. McAleenan, who oversaw CBP's implementation of zero tolerance the first time around, has not ruled out the possibility of reinstituting family separation. He is reportedly considering a policy that would offer parents a binary choice of being separated from their children, or held together as a family in a long-term detention facility, an option that raises several legal and logistical concerns. Ultimately, Bersin argued, separating families is simply far more harmful than it is effective. You don't need to go to that length to achieve the objective that we want, which is to have people stop claiming asylum when they are not entitled to it and not to come up and be permitted to enter the country while they are waiting for their petitions to be adjudicated, he said, insisting that the best solution would be to reform the U.S. asylum system through legislation. Nielsen had attempted to end the so-called catch and release practice by implementing a controversial policy of her own, forcing asylum seekers to wait in Mexico for an immigration court hearing, which could be months or years away, instead of being paroled into the U.S. Though initially just implemented at the San Isidro port of entry south of San Diego, the policy was scheduled to be expanded to other entry points. Nielsen had reportedly objected to Trump's threat to shut some or all of the legal ports of entry along the border, a step that could have disrupted billions of dollars in trade as well as the daily commutes of countless citizens of both countries. She also looked for a way around the law to allow for the administration to deny asylum seekers entry into the country. The effort was unsuccessful, but Trump nevertheless pushed for the policy, reportedly telling Border Patrol agents during a visit to Calexico, California, last week that they should not allow migrants into the country. According to CNN, the agents later consulted their superiors about the president's instructions and were advised that those were not official orders and that if they did what Trump had told them it would be at their own risk, as they are required to follow the law. Photo from Calexico.